When was the moment you realized that your best friend wasn't your best friend? When she told me she doesn't like other girls except me cause she likes to be the prettiest girl in the room. She's in for a fun life. He was best man at my wedding. We had not much contact for a couple of years, but I still considered him my best friend. I heard about his wedding well after the fact. Guess we're not best friends anymore. I have a group of friends from college. We did our student teaching together and we were close. A few years later, I invited them to my wedding and most of them came and had a good time. At this point, almost all of them are engaged or married. Guess how many weddings I've been invited to? 0. It ducking hurts. Our conversations were getting shorter and less intriguing. One day, I received great news and wanted to share it to my best friend. I then realized that they deleted and blocked me on Facebook. While they were driving, everyone decided they wanted to party. No one had money, so they suggested they should call Varvat as he always has money. I was sitting in the back seat. I was like, I'm right here and I'm not in the mood to party tonight. When we went out to eat and I offered her to pay, as usual, because she told me that she forgot her purse, she ordered loads of food and ate only half of it. After leaving, her shoelace was loose and she bent over to tie her shoe and a $100 bill was sticking out of her back pocket. She did this for 4 years and I never realized. Gave her another chance without saying a word. 3 days later I found out she was constantly using my Instagram to text my ex-boyfriend to end my current relationship. I think she never got slapped so hard. When my best friend had marriage troubles, I was there for him. All through his wife's infidelity, the divorce, and the custody battle. I testified on his behalf in court and he got custody of the kids. Fast forward 2 years later. When I find out my wife is cheating on me, he's not really interested in talking to me about it so much. And even acts like he's not home when I stop by for a visit. And no, he wasn't the one my wife was cheating with. He's a good dad and a fun guy to hang around with. But he's just not emotionally available to help other people out much. When she got s-faced drunk at my her godson's, wedding, trashed a hotel room, called me horrible names and punched me closed fist in the face. She ended up passed out on the grounds of the hotel. Came to and was arrested for trespassing because she refused to leave the premises. Days later, via email, blaming me because she didn't realize she was harboring so much animosity towards me. Bye bye. When they would talk about themselves but never ask about me. This can be a tricky one. Especially if you're an introvert. It can seem like a full relationship because you learn so much about them. But later you finally realize they don't know a thing about you because they never ask or have to go when you start talking about yourself. Sucks to realize it. I found out she was uploading my art to bad art blog. I only found out because she sent me 2 paragraphs telling me I was a horrible friend anonymously on Tumblr. Then when I went to her crying over it wondering who it was, she said it was her and then blocked me. I thought I could still fix things, but then I found the bad art blog with my art on it. And found out she was talking shit about me to her other friends. I was only 15 and even though it's been years since it, I'm still ducked up by it in some ways. If you don't like someone, don't pretend to like them and make fun of them behind their backs. Just let them know you feel like you can't be friends anymore and distance yourself. Yeah, that will hurt in the short term, but it won't monumentally duck over someone's entire psyche as being fake will. Best friends for a couple of years. We were in different classes. I wrote her a message that I'd be on my way to her. When I arrived, she forgot to alt-tab the chat window with someone else making fun of me at the worst possible way. At that time she was my only friend. Was tough to have no friends after that for a long time. This might not sound like a lot, but I think that scared me and I'm still struggling making friends. Edit. Holy shit. That wave of responses is just crazy. Thanks for everyone who's reaching out to me. Also, thanks for the silver kind stranger. When she told me my husband and I would make hideous babies because red-headed babies are the ugliest thing she has ever seen. She also locked me out of our hotel 4 hours from home with no way home at 3 AM that same day after an argument over her saying my husband heals people for a living. He's a chemist who works on developing chemotherapy. That was the last time I've spoken to her. 4 years ago. Such a jealous woman. My best friend of high school. Someone who I thought would be in my life for a long time. Started to hit on a girl that I was talking to. He would lie about me to change her opinion of me. And the best part is he never admitted to a thing. Maybe not that bad. But I felt really betrayed. When I opened up to her about my postpartum depression and she told me that she didn't have time for depression and it was weak. I was never vulnerable with her but I was dying inside. I needed someone and she had told me she didn't care. I began shutting her out then. When I invited her to hang out with me at the nearby lake for my birthday, she said she would get back to me. She never did. Instead she posted on her Snapchat story about how much fun she was having with her other friends. I stopped talking to her after that. This is how I lost all of my high school friends. They would constantly tell me they were so busy and they had no time to chill. But would always be on Snapchat having a great time with other new friends. And it's like you never did anything wrong, they just completely lost interest in you for some reason. That and the people who very rarely text you back but when you do finally see them they are glued to their phone texting other people the entire time. When she invited me out to dinner as a Christmas gift. And then when the check was dropped. Told me she actually couldn't treat BC, she had impulse bought her shitty boyfriend a plane ticket when she was drunk the evening before and therefore didn't have the $sign. Among other things. But this was the moment when I was really like, wow. My friendship means nothing to her. I have lived within 2 hours of him for the last 6 years and he has never come to visit me. Always me visiting him. Last straw had a huge the 4th of July BBQ and invited him and he declined so he could go to a lake with strangers. Duck you Rick. That's ducked up. I am out of touch with my sister. Who's lived within an hour's drive of me my whole life and only visited once in 17 years. I visited her uncountable times. Went to her wedding. Her diploma ceremony. Her birthdays. Played with her kids. Random social calls. 6 years ago I moved to the same city. 15 minutes away. I invited her over multiple times. Even setting a date 3 times. She just didn't show up without cancelling. I had to get free from work 2 of those days. Which wasn't easy. After the 3rd time when my amazingly social and friendly roommate came in all enthusiastic to meet my sister finally and saw the disappointment on my face, she told me it's just unfair. She was right. Bye bye sis. When he started spreading rumors that I was a duck boy that was going to shoot up the school despite me never having a girlfriend at that point and am extremely non-violent. When I realized she only wanted to receive support and kindness but never give it. She had a rough home life growing up and I always supported her through everything. I would drop what I was doing when she'd call me in tears to help her. Then I had my own rough patch that left me in a depressive rut. She was always too busy with her hobbies, not even actual work school, to even talk to me when I went seeking support. Would get angry when I sent simple "are you free this weekend" texts because it was too needy. This is also when I learned who my real best friend was because she saw what was happening. Told off this so-called friend. And gave me all the support I needed. Edit. OMG, this got way more attention than I thought it would. I'm so sorry to see this is such a common ordeal that people have gone through or going through. I wish everyone the best. We all deserve the support to get us through tough times. Best friend of 7 years fell in love with my fiance. When I told him I didn't want to be friends anymore and kicked him out of my life. My fiance left me for him. I'll be honest. I wanted to kill him and almost did. When I got an internship at my dream job and she started to pull away more and more until 2 months went by and I realized she ignored most of my texts and Snapchats. After the internship I tried to contact her a few times thinking it was just a product of her being busy with graduation, me being in another state working crazy hours, but a mutual friend stepped in and told me she didn't want to be friends with me anymore. I considered her family. She decided I was very replaceable. It hurt a lot more considering we both used to bond over the fact that our childhoods were filled with best friends dumping us for more popular people. Ordering me to help her with stuff. And there was once my two friends and I ordered drinks. Friend A forgot to get a straw. My best friend, which is friend B, just took my straw and passed to friend A and asked me to go and get another one for myself. I was so heartbroken. My best friend was always complaining and making everything about herself. I met my boyfriend and moved cities so we could be together. Only after a while did I realize that I was feeling so relieved to stop catering to her needs. Telling his brother after I had called to talk for a bit like we always did, I told you to say I'm not home if Putis pants are here cold. Was upset, but it also clued me in to not waste time on that person anymore. Just told him not to worry and that I would talk to him later. Never did. Just left it at that. When all the conversations had to be started by me. When I called him out on it, his excuse was I'm very busy, dude, like the rest of us aren't. A text now and then won't heal you. I gave this person way too many chances. When she would only have me come over so she could go to a concert. Because her parents liked me and let us go out. She stopped talking to me for a while but hit me because she was applying for a job and needed clean urine. We stopped talking again. Then she would call me to tell me she needed food and money for her son. And then bought Drew Gus. I've stopped helping her. And she's no longer my best friend, but I listen when she needs to talk and having a hard time. Do the man. That really sucks. I don't hate her. But I've set boundaries. I really hope she gets her life together. In our final year of university, after having a nearly identical schedule for our first 3 years, we took different electives to finish up our degree. Since we weren't seeing each other every day, we talked less and less. It's not just on him, I didn't do enough either. But it kinda sucked realizing that our friendship wasn't going to last up to graduation. And obviously afterwards as well. When I visited my friend of 25 years, best man, etc., he got violently drunk and attempted to strangle me in front of his screaming family while I begged for life and that my daughters would not be orphans. Because I didn't want to be grabbed. This happened 14 hours ago. Fun times. When we both tried to get in a frat. I didn't make it and he did, which was cool, BC we'd still hang out. That is until for the next month him and a few of his new frat pledges would throw food at me, and on at least 4 occasions I'd be blindsided on campus with them tipping me over. I'm in a wheelchair. They wore masks so I had no proof to anyone, but he was pretty big and I recognized his shoes. He'd then try to still hang around me and act like he never did anything. I didn't really figure it out till about the 3rd time when they tipped me over, and that's when I saw his shoes. Confirming it. About a year later he randomly texted me saying how sorry he was for what he did and hoped we could be friends again, but by that time I could care less. Turns out he had gotten kicked out of the frat for drug use and now he couch surfs. He was asking for help from my other friends in school for a problem on his computer work. They suggested why not ask me for help since I sat next to him in class, and then replied I'm not asking him, he's ducking stupid, while I was right near him printing stuff out. I was so surprised I just pretended I didn't hear anything and went back to my desk. Didn't speak to him for a while after that. I've had this happen twice in my life. The first one lacked any defining moment. We had grown up together and been best friends for well over a decade. But after college we moved to another state, so we never saw each other. Still talked every day and played video games together several times a week. But I noticed after a while that I was always the one to initiate conversations and ask for us to play games. So I just got curious one day how long it would take for him to say hi for once or start a game. After 2 years of not talking with him, I finally removed him from my friends list. In hindsight, I should have talked with him about things and why it hurt my feelings. but early 20s is still basically a kid. I lacked a lot of maturity. Second time was after my divorce. I moved in with my best friend at the time. A man who I called my brother. I was going through a lot. Not just the divorce. Like having to apply for disability and my mom being terminally ill. Meanwhile he had recently started taking testosterone and gotten married to a woman who insisted on traditional values and him being the man of the house. Which all translated to him being an insensitive asshole who kept calling me lazy and accusing me of mooching off him. Despite the fact that I was doing all the housework and had taken the initiative to reorganize both his books and his magic collection for him. He kicked me out after a month. For context. Like 5 years before he had been really ill. Hospitalized for weeks. And I moved in to take care of him when nobody else would. Even giving the bastard sponge baths. I wiped his literal ass for him and he couldn't handle the fact that some days my disabled ass had to skip doing dishes and catch up when I felt better later. And he got my food stamps. I doubt I made his electric and water bills go up that much to get so pissy and accuse me of mooching. When I told her I was moving in with my boyfriend in a different state, she screamed and swore at me. Busted into my room at my home while I was talking to my boyfriend on Discord so he heard the whole thing, saying he would probably grape and kill me. Or just dump me on the street when we would eventually break up. We still live together. And she got over it but it hasn't been the same since. When she told me she didn't want to hang out because my toddler took up too much of my time and I was boring. Then she got knocked up and came to me crying about how hard everything is gonna be now that she's single and pregnant. She was the only person I had told about being sexually assaulted. When it eventually got out that there were other victims and I went to court, she refused to testify. Stayed friends with my abuser. And lied to people and said that I hadn't told her anything. I'm still too chicken to completely cut her off but duck that. When they said that I'm not funny and never have been. They said they only laughed at my jokes out of pity. They then said that no girl would ever like me and that I'm annoying. The thing about girls didn't hurt that bad but for some reason by them saying I wasn't funny really hurt. This was after 3 years of being best friends. Best friends since birth. Our families were friends. The two of us plus my brother and her brother spent together every weekend for roughly 20 years. Then she changed. She became super entitled and holier than thou. Final straw was when 4 years ago she wanted to go to paintball for her birthday and invited both me and my little brother. My little bro had an autoimmune disease and could not participate. I told her that I would not go either cause I didn't want my teenage brother to feel different. She flipped the duck out. Told me I was an asshole and it was her birthday. And she didn't care that much about my brother. I got really mad. I wrote her a long message and I didn't hold back. She never answered. Cut contact there and then. 6 months after that, my brother almost died. She never came to the hospital or even called. Not me. Not him. Not my mother. But no contact for 4 years and never looked back. Edit. I'm not sure if it's clear that she cut contact with me. Not the other way around. This one's pretty wholesome. I'd have to say it's when he married his wife. I moved away for college and he stayed in state. He was still dating the woman who would later become his wife. We stayed in contact and everything. But distance is very hard for both of us. So staying in contact meant like a phone call every 4 months or so. I still think of him as my brother. And I was the best man at his wedding. And during the course of the wedding and reception. And especially the video by drone they took of the proposal, I realized he had made a new best friend. And now he was marrying her. They've been together for a little over a year now. Sounds petty but we had a fallout over seeing Frozen in the cinema. We both loved Tangled so wanted to see the Frozen together but she couldn't afford the ticket. So my sister and I paid for her. Come the day she messages me saying her mum grounded her so she can't come out. I called her home phone to convince her mum to let her come out and got the response so she's at her grandparents right now. I hope you enjoy the film. I cried to my mum about it. and my mum helped me understand that my friendship was just toxic. I had been stood up or lied to too many times. Couldn't refund the ticket, but it became my mum's favorite film, so it was worth it. Should have realized she wasn't my best friend sooner when she told me she was grounded on my birthday so couldn't come, but instead went out to have sex with her boyfriend. Edit. We were both 17 at the time, for those asking. 4 years. My best friend had asked me every summer to go to this sleepaway summer camp in the Poconos with her, but my mother wouldn't ever let me go. The year she finally broke down and said I could go. My bestie and I spent weeks shopping and planning and talking about it non-stop. It was going to be glorious, the final summer before junior high. After her parents dropped us off. However, this itch proceeded to flat out ignore me the entire 2 weeks we were there. She wouldn't even have a 2-minute conversation with me to tell me what I'd done. I was beyond miserable. All the other kids had been going there every summer and all knew each other, and here I was. Basically alone in another state. Pre-internet and cell phones. Totally bewildered and upset because my best friend since kindergarten, and the only other person I knew there, wouldn't so much as look at me. I was miserable. When her parents came to pick us up, I didn't say a damn word the whole 2-hour trip home and never spoke to her again. To this day I have no idea why the duck she acted like that, but I'm still a little pissed off. When I was 14 I became great friends with a girl in my class called Kirsty. We spent all our time together. I stayed at her house every weekend. Of course I assumed we were best friends. One day I asked her to do something and she didn't want to, can't remember what. So I said, "Please, best friend." To which she replied, "You aren't my best friend. Rhiannon is my best friend." Ouch.